used to drive on the motorway before I knew what problem I had, go into a meeting and pull over the car on the side of a like really busy M25 and jump out in my high heels and run up a muddy bank and into a bush because literally I lost control.
I'm Ann Marie McQueen, journalist and proud 50-ish woman, and we are here looking for the true truth in perimenopause, menopause, midlife, and beyond.
Opening our minds to other possibilities is not always easy.
Hotflash Inc.
You're all woman to me. All right, Ann Marie.
I'm so excited to be here in Dubai with Heather Mills. I can honestly say this is not something I thought would happen in my life. You got to love the UAE because it just brings so many people together.
Eclectic.
Yeah. You're looking beautiful in red.
Thank you.
Anyway, it's a real honor to meet you.
That's very kind.
Always been a sort of through line in my life, one of those steady presences.
Really? Oh, that's very kind of you.
You're, I think, maybe 2 years older than us.
58.
You're 3 years older. Yeah. But if, you know, and it's funny when you're young and someone's a little bit older, they seem a lot older.
Well, I've always been a really old brain woman. My sister used to say, okay, I'm coming round, let's have some fun. And I was like 22. And she said, what are we doing? I said, we're going to eat and watch a film. I've got like an old black and white film. She went, we're 22. Right. She was 20. And she said, I was just so like, get up, work, go back, sleep, get up, work, go back, sleep, sport. And one time I went round to her house and some of her friends were having a joint. And she said, oh God, Heather's coming round, as if I was the police. And they were opening the window going, get it out, get it out. It was like, because I've never done drugs. I've always been, as everyone says, really boring. And I didn't drink till I was 29.
Wow.
And I wish I'd never started because I do like a nice glass of Chardonnay. But I have had a dry January. And I'm a lightweight, 2 glasses and I'm gone. So this week I haven't, and this month touched it with the Gulf Food Show being 20-hour days,
right,
intense with media and then running the stand all day. So you can tell my voice. I've been doing a lot of cooking shows and explaining things.
Yeah. It does truncate you, alcohol. It does.
Especially now at this time in my life. Yeah, totally. You can't get away with it. The same.
So you never had that need to escape your brain that so many people...
do. Yeah, no, I'm really good at switching off. I know my personality and I'm all on or 100% off. And my team have been with me between 20 and 30 years. And when we get some new people in, they're always like, oh my God, does she ever sleep? Does she ever stop? And they're like, yeah. So when I hit a wall, I listen to my body and I go, okay, everyone, I'm off. Do not call me. My phone's off. I've got a Batmobile for emergencies. Mm. But if you ring it and you don't really think through, can you solve the problem? You're at risk of being fired because I rarely take holidays. And when I do, my phone is 100% off. So no one ever rings me. And it makes them think and get on with creating a solution.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, all on, all off.
I love it. Yeah. A lot of people don't have the ability to do that until they actually crash. So it's cool that you do that with everything you've got going. Okay. It's almost like hard to know where to start to weave into it, but let's just start with what brought us here today, which is this No Bloat line of ready meals, foods that are very different than, you know, because people are thinking ready meals with like peel back plastic and all that sort of thing. So we'll get into it. But I want to know what led to it because I think your own health issues and gut issues brought you to this.
100%.
Okay, 100%. So how did that happen?
So I'll try and summarize it as best as I can. But basically, having lost my leg in 93, crushed my pelvis, punctured my lung after I came back from the war in England, Princess Diana's false alarm for the police. They were speeding. One of them chopped my leg off. That's how I got her involved in landmines, which is a whole other story. And I was in hospital and I'm a Geordie. So I'm like sausage and mash, like, you know what I mean? Tiny bits of carrot, nothing else. And my girlfriend came in and I was there for 5 months and they kept trying to chop my leg more and more because I had infection. And she said, we got to get you out of here. I said, well, what can you do? And she said, well, I cured myself of breast cancer. And I went, oh, don't be so ridiculous. On a vegan diet. I was like, what on earth is vegan in 1993? And I said, but to be honest, I wanted to keep my knee because once you lose your knee, it's much harder. So I'd try anything. And she took me off to a place called Hippocrates in West Palm Beach, shoved me with garlic and like wheatgrass juice in every orifice you can imagine. And I was healed in 2 weeks. And I'd been in hospital on every antibiotic, on everything. And I thought, hang on, this has actually worked. So I went back to England, jumped on the GMTV Lorraine Kelly show and plunked this tray of wheatgrass. And the doctor, Hillary, just was like, looked at me like I'd brought some marijuana on there. And I started to explain how you squeeze it. It's full of chlorophyll. Drink it every day. And then it went into Planet Organics. And then I started thinking, oh, I could really change people's lives by creating food that's really good for them. But being a realist, you're not going to just live off, raw vegetables all the time in the middle of freezing cold England in the winter. So I made the first vegan burger that tasted like meat. There'd been some vegetable burgers when I was a kid, like the spicy bean burger at Wimpy, before it mainly disappeared. And so I made like a texturized meat, and I started developing and getting a real interest in food. So I created the first vegan McDonald's burger, then the first vegan Burger King, and the first Domino's cheese, and built up this company because I thought, if you're going to get people off fast food, because these huge fast food places are creating very addictive, cheap food, I need to do a replication. So it's a bit like being a heroin addict on your fast food, for want of a better word. And the vegan burgers would be the methadone. And then eventually your metabolism, your taste buds and everything change. And then you end up liking tofu, which is like my partner, who was a total fast food addict when I met him, absolutely adores crispy tofu now. So it was a process, weaning people off, taking them over the bridge. And then suddenly I thought I knew it all. I'd just finished doing the Guinness World Records in speed skiing. And I got these severe pains. And I was misdiagnosed for 2 years with Lyme's disease, which attacked my colon and microbiome, and eventually collapsed and got rushed into hospital, burst appendix, gallbladder out. And it was like a putrefied pussy calzone pizza. And I said, I told you there was something not right. And then about a year later, I still couldn't eat properly. Every time I ate, I would blow up like a balloon, get severe IBS, still ski racing, not good on the top of a snowy mountain without any loos. So a lot of embarrassing moments. And I went back to a specialist and he said, we have to take, half your colon out and give you a stoma bag. And being really into sport and swimming and everything, I was like, I've got to find a solution to this. And it was just my personality. I'd had 2 ectopic pregnancies, 4 miscarriages in my first marriage, told I could never have kids. And eventually in my second marriage, naturally had one 3 years in, unbeknownst to me. So I thought the body can heal, because I'd been vegan for such a long time by then, whereas I wasn't when I lost my children first. And then I realized, after loads of testing, I did manometries, endoscopies, colonoscopies. I did video capsules through the esophageal and watched what happened to ingredients through the colon in thousands of people. Found out it was garlic and onion. Garlic and onion was giving me agony and severe IBS. And garlic and onion is in everything. So I thought, I need to create something without garlic and onion. And as I studied it more, I realized there were different FODMAPs that were irritating different people. And for people who don't know what FODMAPs are, there's 6 generally that you can test. It's that simple. So you need to calm your colon down, get rid of the bloat, which is why I created No Bloat, for a month. And then you introduce 1 of 6 foods each 3 days. So leave garlic and onion to the end, because that is generally what it is for 60% of people. But other people are mannitols, sorbitols, fructose, or certain types of fruits, and certain types of amounts of fruits. Because I always wondered, why, when people do Veganuary, do they give up at the end? And I started collecting data that the majority of them were really uncomfortable, because they went from meat and fish that will go through the system without creating bloating generally, but it'll give you all sorts of other ailments and heart attacks and diseases and cancers and things. But FODMAPs at a high level will create bloating in many people. And I would say everyone suffered from discomfort at some point. Stress is a massive factor because you could just not eat and drink water. And if you're under extreme stress, you'll blow up anyway. And then, of course, menopause comes in. So to cut to the chase, once I knew which ingredients were low FODMAP, it's very hard to make a delicious tasting product with minimal ingredients, no preservatives, no additives, ambient, long shelf life, because we do chilled and frozen. But trying to make that convenient when you're jumping on a plane, train, automobile, skiing, camping, biking, going to the office, coming home as a single person, not wanting to just have a fridge full of fruit and veg you haven't touched all week. I came up with No Bloat and we created 8 recipes, opened the pack, and literally it says on the back, 150 mils where the boiling line, close it, it's ready in 8 minutes. You can just eat it straight out the pack. Ooh. And literally, I put it on our online store and 70,000 people bought it in the first week. I was like, oh, this is going to be popular because we mainly work in chilled and frozen. This was our first ambient. And it was a 14-year study, so it's real high science, stamped by the Monash University, experts in FODMAPs, and the Harley Street Gut Clinic, Functional Gut Clinic. And everyone that came back, 50% IBS, Crohn's, celiac, massive success. That was why I made it, because unless you've been in severe pain, people get bloated, but it's the pain and the lack of bowel control when something takes over and there's nothing you can do about it. But the other 50%, hikers, bikers, campers, skiers, it was unbelievable. And the funniest thing was, I was in New York. I went to the top of the Empire State Building. I had a bag with me of extra products after the exhibition. And I thought, oh, how can I give these to rather than take them back again? And I saw a bunch of scaffolders, builders. And I said, hi, guys, do you have flasks of water? And yeah, we'll bring them up for our tea. And I said, well, take these and see what you think. Here's my details. And they said, oh, this is perfect. It takes us so long to go down from our short lunch hour. And they started eating them. So they sent me this video and they're absolutely obsessed with it. And they order it from England. So I have to send over boxes. And they say 2 of them out of the 10 have gut issues and the other 8 say they don't. They just love the taste of it. And when I was at the Gulf Food Show yesterday, this French top chef was introduced to me and he's like, oh, no, very Michelin. We don't eat packet food. And I said, just try it. And then my friend stayed there and sent a video and he just couldn't stop eating it. He's going, this is because it's real food. It's not a pot noodle. It's not, but it's convenient and you just add hot water and it's freeze dried. So it retains 97% of the nutrients. Whereas when you take vegetables off the shelf when they've been imported, mushrooms from China, you've got like 74% nutrients left.
Okay.
So yeah. And when you're my age and anyone that suffers from bloating, it really affects you mentally with the menopause. You're already struggling and your gut is your brain. So it's 90% of the serotonin. So if your gut's happy, you've got a spring in your step. You feel, oh, I feel fantastic. So I would suggest people just try it for a week and just see how you feel and make a diary.
I get a lot of people who write to me. I also had SIBO after I had to take antibiotics.
Yeah.
And I had the same thing. I was eating all my healthy food, my mushrooms, my cauliflower, my garlic, my onions, and just it's so confusing and crazy making because you're like, this makes no sense. I'm not eating anything processed. And
well, cauliflower makes me blow up like a balloon and I love it. And the nobloat.com explains everything really simply. There's too much information to go through every detail, but the top of broccoli and a certain amount, the head will not give you bloating, but the stem can, but not for everyone. But the stem has the most nutrients in it. So I had to study. That's why it took me 14 years to actually really analyze on everybody what are the ingredients that will never cause bloating in anyone. The only 2 question marks in 2 of the 6 products are the tofu. So a lot of people are allergic to soy. A lot of people think they're intolerant to soy, but it's silken tofu, not firm. So silken tofu sits in a lot of liquid and then it starts to ferment in the gut and create a lot of gas in a percentage of people. And that's why people get confused because they go, I was great on tofu last week and then I went to the Japanese and I'm not good on tofu because it's silken a lot of the time. So firm tofu, which is what we put in those 2 recipes out of the 8, doesn't cause bloating on hardly anybody that I've seen unless you're allergic to soy in general.
Okay, this is why this situation with the FODMAPs is so confusing because even when you try to follow the diet, I found it really confusing. It's like you can have this amount of mango, but not that amount. And, it was super. It was really
to make it really easy for you, and I'll give you some stuff to take away just to try it and make a little diary, and then you can send a message to me, and I can promise you this will not make you bloated, but something else you've had during the rest of the day, which is why we're going to do a No Bloat protein bar, a No Bloat protein shake, things that people can follow for the entire week and not get confused about which of the meals they ate created the bloating. Okay. So that's why just a week and you already know. And then it's just one of 6 things. So if you really want to just know for good, what is the blemmin' thing that's annoying me? Usually it's just 1 FODMAP. I'm unfortunately 2. I'm a mannitol and a fructan. But once I understood what it was, I could introduce a plethora of fruits and vegetables, being a vegan, into my diet. And for people that are not vegan, it's delicious. And then they just add, if they don't want to lose weight, because you will lose weight on this, they can add extra proteins on the side because it's only 167 to 207 calories a meal. And it's really satiating. So I challenged someone and the most they could eat were two of them.
Okay.
Because it's real food.
How are your gut issues now?
Perfect.
And do you always have to eat low FODMAP or do you ever
No, because I only eat the fructan and mannitol low FODMAP.
Okay.
I can eat
that meaning
everything.
you eat it a small amount of it.
A small amount of fructans and mannitols. Generally avoid them when I'm out.
Yeah.
Because everything's mixed. Like if you go for a curry, forget it. It's just got everything in it. But Japanese is brilliant. So last night I took the team out to celebrate a great week at the Gulf Food Show to Nobu in the Atlantis Palm. And we just had loads of tofu, spinach, agadashi, tofu agadashi, spinach oshitashi, avocado maki. And I just know when I look at things, I go, okay, no one will feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So it's overwhelming, but it's a bit like training a puppy.
Yeah.
If you don't train it up front, you've got to deal with a wild thing your whole life. So take the time to train yourself and learn what it is. And on nobloat.com, I have made it so simple. And if you follow it, the second you're not bloated, you try the next FODMAP. Not bloated, the next FODMAP. If you're bloated, write down, okay, that's a mannitol, okay, that's a sorbitol. Okay. But don't do a mixed FODMAP ingredient because that's where people get confused. Because some meals have mannitol, sorbitol, and a fructan. And then you're like, what's that? Right. You don't need to do that. You just need to do one of the 6 ones I recommend and you immediately know what it is. And then when you learn what it is, you then avoid that product.
Right. It's funny that you said it's overwhelming because people will always say that and the resistance to actually figuring out what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's overwhelming to not know how you're going to feel any given day,
and if you're
mentally
in a meeting
and physically.
Or in the car and you're stuffing traffic. And I know people that just literally only eat if they know they're going to be near a toilet. I mean, like there's millions of people like that.
Yeah.
And when I did the stand at Gulf Food Show, I presented my new low FODMAP meat, fish and dairy free things because I realized the ones we did for vegan McDonald's and Burger Kings and Domino's cheeses weren't low FODMAP. So I went, okay, I need to make a range of high protein vegan alternates to go with this. But I knew that as people went by, we just looked like we were another vegan chicken burger place. So I put the No Bloat massively, and everyone that walked by stopped and went, oh, I'm bloated. Yeah. For personal reasons. They were buyers for distributors all around the world, but they would stop and ask for themselves. And by the time they finished, they went, we have to have this product in our store or in our hotel or on our plane, because we know so many people that suffer. And if you imagine on a plane, oh my God, I won't even get into the detail because it's so awful, but the amount of times I would literally, the plane would take up and I'd go, oh, no. My breakfast suddenly would want to come out before I worked it out. Where you try and fight with an air steward who wants you to sit down.
Terrible.
And I'm like, I need to go now. And he's like, no, sit down. I went, well, you have to clean this up if I don't get in that loo right now. And they're like, okay, just go. Yeah. It's on your head, take the risk. No, but really, I used to drive on the motorway before I knew what problem I had. Go into a meeting and pull over the car on the side of a like really busy M25 and jump out in my high heels and run up a muddy bank and into a bush, because literally I lost control.
It's so crazy because we used to joke in university, and after university I have a couple of friends who became like traveling nurses, like visiting nurses, and they had accidents and it was like this big joke. And now I just know that they had gut issues. Yeah. And it's not funny. Like it's not supposed to happen. I mean, it is funny when your friend tells you, but in a funny way. But it's so many people are suffering. And you mentioned a key thing, which is stress and our ability to process stress.
Yeah.
When I had SIBO, healed it, and then it became leaky gut.
Yeah.
And so I did a protocol with my doctor, a homeopathic regime, got dialed in my diet, but I did a 3-month hypnosis program with Nerva.
Yeah.
And I feel that was the most effective thing.
Yeah.
Because
and that stress and then the food.
It taught you about it. It taught you about the brain-gut connection.
Yeah.
And at the end of 3 months, then you did a hypnosis every day, every single day. And at the end of it, you really understood.
For how long?
For 3 months.
Brilliant.
At the end, you really understood how deeply it's connected. Like, how much would you say stress was an issue for you?
Huge.
Okay.
But even when I would go on holiday and I would only drink some water, if I was stressed, I would still blow up. So stress is a huge factor. So it's the whole holistic thing, because when I would be in a non-stressful environment, if I had garlic and onion, I'd have a severe issue. So it was still the garlic and onion. I still had to address that. But stress is absolutely key. But if you imagine it's like a stacking effect. So let's say, there's a fun, buzzy, healthy adrenaline and there's a negative adrenaline. Too much on your adrenal glands is horrific. But if it's also negative and you're also layering it with food that irritates you and you're also massively stressed, you're just a continuum. So for me, it's about looking at how do you take out the irritators, and I mean people and inigo, of your life, because they can be a big contributor, and minimize the stress on your body. Because if you imagine, it's like having a tolerance level. We've all got a certain tolerance level. If you're then hacking away at the most important part of your body, which is your gut, and they're learning that more now, then because you really are what you eat, but more importantly, you are what you digest. Because if you're going to eat something and it goes straight through, it's achieved nothing. If you can just take those layers out, then your body can afford to be a bit naughty here and there with a glass of wine or, but if you're wine and FODMAPs and stress and this and that, it's just too much. And that's why people are dropping like flies now and becoming more and more sick. And I just really want to say to people that life is busy, we've got families, we're much better off than millions and billions of people around the world, but we're very poor in the wealth of looking after ourselves. So if I go to Cambodia and I have clinics for amputees all around the world, or I go to India, they're always smiling and they have nothing. And they're like, they live and get enough to eat and work, and there's an incredible community. And I think that's what's really, really key. And I have to say, since I've come to Dubai, I've met some incredible women, like powerhouses. And I'm like, can you just all come back and run the government in England? Because they're so together and so on it and so not men pleasers, which is what so many women in England, like, Rebecca Brooks, Murdoch's right hand, a woman hater and a man pleaser. And I say that very openly. So I'm used to a lot of I've got great friends in England, but I'm used to a lot of nasty, catty bittiness. Whereas over here, I've just found this group of, through friends, 20 women, and all they do is say, oh, I know someone that knows someone.
Yeah.
That would be great for such and such. So they work and network together, which is what men have always done. And I really want to encourage that more. We've got a club of ethical vegan women in the UK. We've got like 1,000 of us who meet every month, and we all support each other. But we don't want people just to be vegan to be doing that. So it is lovely seeing that here. It really surprised me.
I have found that myself. And I don't see it back home. I'm from Canada.
Yeah.
And a CEO of a menopause telehealth company came over, and she said, I feel like I'm being provincial, but I was blown away at how, first of all, sort of the respect shown to women, and then how women are kind of a force in the economy. Yeah. I was glad she said I was being provincial, because people from the States always think,
yeah, well,
everything else is
my
backwards.
girlfriend, Emily Shaw, in Abu Dhabi, she's like a powerhouse over there and has a job and is paid 5 times more than she would be in the UK. And people have a perception of Dubai, and there are still a lot of issues. Like, I can't believe there's not a minimum wage. I can't believe the workers are not paid how they should be.
No palliative care.
Yeah.
My cleaner is dying, and there's no palliative care.
Yeah,
there's no situation. And it's, it makes sense because of the way the country works. You have workers that come from outside, but it's, we haven't been able to find anything.
But because they come out from outside and they're being paid peanuts, then the corporate companies that employ them should be giving them some healthcare, some basic healthcare. Should become a law, because otherwise, it's a form of slavery.
Some companies do step in. Like, that's usually what ends up happening. Okay, so you've alluded to midlife and perimenopause and how that can really do a number on you. Can you tell me what your experience has been?
So it's quite funny, because obviously when I lost the 4 and then the 2 ectopic pregnancies, told I couldn't have kids, miraculously had a kid naturally 3 years into my second marriage. I was still having a menstrual cycle, and still am at the age of 58. And I kept going to the doctor saying, well, my friends have stopped their periods. When is mine going to blooming stop? Do you know what I mean? And he said, don't complain about it. He said, that's when the aging process kicks in as soon as it stops. I was like, vanity might make that okay. But I started to get really hot sweats about a year ago, and started looking more into the menopause, and also wondered why I couldn't. As you can see, I've got no fat on me.
No, very slender.
but my rib cage just started expanding. It was really amazing, because I was like, this dress has always had a good bit of movement, and it's really sort of tight around here, which sounds mad to anyone that's looking at me. But it was like, what's going on here? So it is amazing how the body completely changes. And then, and I noticed that I was between the gut and then the perimenopause, going through that, I noticed I wasn't as sort of calm, and I would be like, feel angry and snappy. So I saved those days when I had the board meetings, because they would happen around the normal cycle, when, before you're about to start your menstrual cycle. And they came in handy, because I had a lot of, at the time, corporate male chauvinist guys I had to put in place. So that was a good thing, because the rest of the team have been with me forever. So they're like family. So I'm just a bit too laid back. Do you want a day off? Yeah, no problem. So it was good in that way. But yeah, hot sweats, and definitely accelerated problems with my gut, without a doubt. And then I started reading into what can I do. So my mum was a homeopath and acupuncturist at the Royal Marsden Cancer Hospital 50 years ago. But they thought she was wacko, like people think I'm wacko in my vegan health. But she left when I was 9 years old, and she died when she was 47. So they built a garden for her on the top of the Royal Marsden Hospital. But so I don't really know what she went through, but I do know that when she died, I found out she spoke 11 languages. I never knew that. I found out she was a classical pianist from my grandma of my father, who actually adopted my father. And I was like, well, why did we not know that? Mum didn't teach me any languages. I wondered why I was obsessed with languages. And she said in those days, it was like one flew over the cuckoo's nest. They did that electron therapy and then the psychologist is forget your past completely. So do not play the piano, do not do languages, do not just start a fresh life. That's how they used to.
So did your mom have psychological issues?
I think she had severe hormonal issues because it was in that time, it was post having 3 babies.
Yeah.
And I think she went.
How did she pass away?
She passed away. She lost her leg at the same age as me and they reattached it when she was 21.
Right.
And then she passed away when they reattached it, which was the worst thing they could do, but they didn't know that at the time. And she got a vein problem and it was always bleeding. So she went in the Middlesex Hospital in London and they did the operation. And within 12 hours, it was just bleeding all the time. And she had cream pajamas. So she said to me, can you pop to the shops and pick up some red pajamas? And I got them. And by the time I got back, she was dead. I didn't get to say goodbye. And they hadn't given her the heparin. So a clot went in heart and lungs and she was gone. She was 47.
So you have a feeling that she suffered quite a lot during her 40s. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's why she became a psychologist.
Right.
And went into more and more alternative medicine, trying to find the solution.
Yeah. The more women I speak to, and I'm the same with my mom because my mom passed away when she was 53 of pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
But it was this long parade, like hysterectomy and then chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and lots of bloating. And it's like we all kind of put together this mystery of our moms. But what's crappy is, you're not that interested in anyone but yourself when you're young. Yeah. I feel like, so it's like, oh, I hope I was interested and I wish I asked more. But so it's incredibly, like, that's a long time. Someone said to me when I hadn't gone through menopause at 53, a doctor, I was 51, and she said, well, if you don't go through it soon, maybe we'll do some testing. And I was like, oh, okay. So now it's a problem if I go through it, if I don't go through menopause until I'm like older. I feel like there's a lot of medicalizing of this situation. Because you're in the UK and things really started to blow up there.
A brilliant woman called Dr. Louise Newson. If anyone's got anything, just to watch YouTube and watch her. Again, anybody that's doing something great that might threaten, profit elsewhere is targeted. So she's been heavily targeted. I was really disappointed with Panorama, what they did on her, because I used to be executive producer at the BBC in the 90s. So I created the first digital show called First Say, and it was the after live debate show of whatever Panorama was that night. And in those days, Panorama was amazing. And I just thought, oh, that's a hack job. That's so bad. I know because I've recommended at least 100 people to her since I found out what I was going through, because I was like, what's going on here? And she has sorted them out.
Do you see her yourself?
I don't anymore, but I did.
Did you go the hormone therapy route?
I was recommended to her, and because I was starting to get the hot sweats, and my best friend, who's a guy in Brighton, said his wife was driving him nuts, and he'd researched everything to try and calm her down because they'd been together 40 odd years. And I spoke to her, and then I looked at some of the ingredients, and because I'm vegan, I couldn't take those, but I found other things, yam cream, all sorts of stuff, and I researched more, and then learned it was a lot of gut issues with me as well. And soy, weirdly, really, really helps me. So I take soy tablets because that people would go, oh, I'm getting man boobs having soy. And it doesn't. It normalizes the estrogen. So on some people, again, it works for some and not for others, and it works for me. But I had friends that were suicidal, that were being given antidepressants. One friend in particular who was the most happy-go-lucky friend for 40 years, suddenly, vroom, and was thrown on antidepressants. I said, did they test your hormones? She said, no. And I wouldn't have known any different until my friend introduced me. And I said, let's just go 60 pounds in London, progesterone, testosterone, estrogen, always the 3, not just 1, because it has to be balanced. And still the NHS just test one or the other instead of all 3. It's insanity.
It's like we have one hormone.
Yeah. So she went along in the bunker, nothing. No testosterone, no estrogen, nothing. And they were like, how are you even moving? Because she's such a powerhouse. And she started the creams and within 3 weeks was completely normal, went off the antidepressants, weaned off them because it's terrible to just stop them. 6 weeks later, and she's been fine ever since.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it wasn't depression, it was hormonal.
Yeah, antidepressants and the birth control pill are often recommended during this time. It's a very medical approach. So I'm fascinated. I'm very curious. First of all, the soy that helps you, there is evidence to back this up.
Yeah.
We've had on the podcast Dr. Neil Bernard, and he's done.
Oh, I love him. Great.
He's done randomized clinical trials that show like reduction of hot flashes, like 84%, with just a half a cup of soybeans a day, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So when you said,
on that, stick to the half a cup if your FODMAP is edamame, because it is a high FODMAP over a certain amount.
Okay.
Because that's what I learned. Once you start, it's a bit like popcorn. You have half a cup and then suddenly you're having a bucket of them. And then
especially if you're toasting them or like, they're salty.
Yeah.
But there's this bean talk trend. Have you heard about bean talk?
No.
All these perimenopausal women are eating beans in the morning, but they're eating like 2 cups.
If you don't have an intolerance to oligosaccharides, which are beans, wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. But if I ate that many beans, there's just no way. So if it's helping you and it's not, if you've got a bit of bloating and no pain and it's really helping your menopause, that's the priority. Yeah. But if you're me, I would have severe IBS. But black beans, I'm fine.
Okay.
But not, I miss my butter beans. Like,
So when you said hormone therapy, this is something that women will say to me, I can't talk about the ingredients in the mainstream sort of hormone therapy that.
Well, I mean, there's obviously bioidentical and then there's more extreme chemicals. So it's important to do your research, but it's, there's a big thing about people who are susceptible and they know from their parents to breast cancer. So it's really, really key that they understand if they've got an issue with estrogen. I even heard the other day, and it's the first time I've ever heard it, that a friend of mine's got no testosterone and she can't absorb, which is quite amazing. I hadn't heard that before with regard to testosterone, because testosterone, I mean, so many men, and that's the bit that's not covered enough, lose their sexual prowess because they also can, go through the menopause.
Yep.
That is a real thing.
Andropause, yep.
Yeah. So I think eventually they gave her the testosterone and put it round her pubis synthesis and round the punani, and she's horny as heck now.
Okay, so you use some wild yam cream.
And I just have soy tablets, and I have a really perfect diet.
And you're still getting your period and you're 58.
Yeah,
how do you feel about that?
Well, I know scientifically it's really healthy.
Yeah.
And I was told I couldn't have kids after an ectopic pregnancy. Your tubes are fully scarred. And Dr. Yehudi Gordon at the St. John Elizabeth Hospital in St. John's Wood was my doctor from when I had my ectopics all the way through for 15 years until I had my child. And when he did the tests, he just said, I'm sorry, you'll have to adopt. There's just no way that you can have kids. And I was like, okay, I've just got to deal with this. I had stepkids at the time from my first husband who were adorable and they were young. And then I did get pregnant and they immediately said, can we pull everyone in? And because I was 11 pounds of a baby 4 weeks early, I was like a vegan grow bag. So all the women were saying, oh, you're not going to get a protein, you're not going to get this. And my baby was enormous, but too big to get through my metal plates. Okay. Where I'd had my accident, I have metal plates that hold my hips together and my pubis synthesis. So I had this cesarean, and I remember there's like 5 people down there with the sheet going, oh, after I'm like holding my baby. And they were just like, but this is not possible. And then Yehudi Gordon's bringing up my old records, showing the scar tissue, and then showing how there is no scar tissue anymore. And they turned to my husband and said, well, this is just not possible. It can't be the right records. Has she done anything different? Well, I'd been vegan 15 years, and when I first was pregnant, I hadn't been vegan. So he said, it must be because she's vegan. I went, well, even that's a big stretch. Back when I was 36, I hadn't done as in-depth science checks as I have now. And I thought, That's all it can be. I've somehow healed my body. So I really do believe, food is medicine, and you can heal a lot. But there is idealism and realism, because the idealism is, who wants to live a life of just absolute perfection, boring? And this is what I was saying about choosing your moments. So have one naughty, 1 or 2 days a week. Choose when you have them. Know there's going to be consequences, like there is when you drink that extra glass of wine in the morning. Not in the morning, hopefully, but how you feel in the morning. And really get to know yourself and keep diaries and look at it. It's just so essential. Like, take a picture of your poop and literally look back. What did you eat in the last 24, 48, 72 hours? And know how regular you are going to the loo, because dogs' bowels are brilliant. You feed them, you got to take them for a walk, they poop straight away. That is what we are meant to do. Mm-hmm. And we think it's normal just to go once a day. That means we are constipated unless we're only eating one meal a day. But if you are eating something, you should be going to the loo within hours of that meal. The previous one should be going out.
Okay, so I feel like it would be so great to have another, I hope this doesn't offend you, another Heather Mills who was never a vegan, so we could know when you might have gone through menopause.
Yeah.
It feels like maybe it has something to do with it.
Could be. But I don't know. I'm sure there's lots of vegans that have gone through it, but that would be a good study to do.
Well,
I actually should do that study, because we have 70,000 on our online store.
It would be
vegan
really interesting
specifics
for you to look at the data and see the timings, because we know, like, early menopause is, there's a lot more risks. So that brings me to the...
And my daughter's been vegan for her whole life, 22 years.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah,
if
like,
the
I think you're,
happens.
Sort of manipulating nature.
Yeah, maybe. Or having it how it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the menopause space has gotten very shouty and polarized, just like everything else. And so veganism is a really hot topic.
Yeah.
And lift heavy, eat protein, eat animal protein. I just saw a very prominent longevity doctor yesterday saying, and she met an older woman who only eats one meal a day who's vegan. She said, I want her to be eating nutrient-dense food. It's just a sort of, what are
and
you...
And that specialist wants them to eat meat?
Yes.
Oh, my
She was literally saying, that one meal a day, if you're vegan, you're just not going to be getting the protein. And this is always the argument.
Have you seen my muscles?
Yeah, you're
Can
very
we just
muscular.
See my muscles?
My goodness.
Okay,
so
these are vegan muscles.
I've been around, as a journalist who's covered health, I've seen this go around and around. For a while, it was the greatest thing to be vegan, and everyone should be vegan, and you had to be 100% vegan, and then you could be veganish, and then you could have meatless. I just wonder, at this time in our life, what do you say to those people who say you can't be vegan when you're going through this transition because you need animal protein?
Well, the thing is...
Or just so much protein, and veganism can't give you that kind of protein.
Yeah. So too much protein creates acidosis in your body and can make you very, very sick. Okay. So, and especially meat protein. So I've got loads of people saying, oh, look how slim I am. And then I'll do their bloods and they're pretty horrific. So we're all unique, and your body, read the China study. This is a 30-year study that shows you what meat and dairy does to the body. And it was done by Professor Colin Campbell of Cornell University. And it was between China, America, and the UK. And it is scientific proof that there is nothing healthier than plant-based. Nothing. However, there's different types of plant-based. If you had bread and chips every day, that's horrific. There's no nutrients in it. If you eat the wrong FODMAPs and you're FODMAP intolerant, that's no good, because it's just going straight through your bowel. So yes, we do need B12. And I would suggest, if you're plant-based, the only things you take ever, because you don't need to take all these vitamins, it's just absolutely ridiculous, unless you've got a specific test that's showing your malabsorbent in iron or whatever. The best thing to do is just a B12 and an omega-3 from algae. It makes no sense to take omega-3 from a fish, because fish don't have omega-3 in it. They eat the algae that sits in between the tissues, and then we eat the fish. So if you're going to eat the fish and enjoy the fish, that's up to you. But why would you kill billions of fish and squeeze them into a capsule when the fish have just eaten the algae? It's complete nonsense and madness. So the reason people in Veganuary went off going plant-based with two reasons. One, because they overdosed on FODMAPs and got real pain and problems. And they don't get that same pain when they eat the fish and the meat, which is why they keep thinking they're feeling better. But it causes all sorts of other diseases, which will happen in the future, which is going to happen with Ozempic. Like, nobody should take Ozempic, like, unless they're diabetic. I can promise you now, just like I said about everything in the past, and I'm very controversial until it is known as the truth. So anyone thinking of doing Ozempic, unless you're morbidly obese and about to die, or you have severe diabetes, do not touch it, because you're going to drop like flies in the future. It's going to affect your pancreas in a horrific way. It's like giving chemotherapy to someone that doesn't have cancer. It should be illegal unless you are taking it from a real doctor who knows that you've got issues with your pancreas already.
You must be in your circles seeing a lot of...
Well, weirdly, none of my friends take anything like that. But here, the people I've met, they take it if they want to lose 4 or 5 kilos. I'm like, and it's a bit the same as the
muscle.
It's a bit the same as people who have the steak and eggs and the diet you're talking about that this bizarre dietitian has recommended. It's the same thing. They're just looking at how they look externally and not what's going on in their body. And when it's suddenly announced you've got pancreatic cancer, or even Robbie Williams recently was, brave enough to say it's affecting his eyesight and all sorts of things.
He is brave. It's not cool to speak out against Ozempic.
It's not. But he says, I might still take it because I don't want to get fat. So, but he's mad.
He's funny. He says, I take everything.
Yeah, he's honest. Yeah. Which is refreshing. So, but what I would say is that some people I know that are on this meat diet, you've been on it for years, are still not even slim. So it doesn't necessarily work, but surely you want to be a few kilos over and really healthy inside. And also the Ozempic face. Oh my goodness. When you greet someone, I've always been the same weight my whole life, because apart from when I had my baby, because I've always been sporty and I've generally always eaten well. But I've got friends that have gained a lot of weight and then they've gone on this Ozempic and they were beautiful, because when you've got weight, you've got, that natural filler look that women get. And then they lose it. And it doesn't matter how slim your body is. No one's looking at your body. They're all going, oh my God, it's like the Hammer House of Horrors. What have you done to your face? So don't do it.
My goodness.
It's horrific. It's absolutely horrific.
I learned this years ago because there was a receptionist at one of the newspapers I worked at in Canada, and she was quite plump. And I was shocked to find out how old she was. And I've always been a sort of an hourglass figure. And I thought, okay, there is something in this, like there's something maybe.
Well, when you've got, the thing is, if you want to be a certain size, you have to make it happen in your 30s. You have to say, what am I comfortable with? And mainly because if you've bought a nice wardrobe, you don't want to have to keep buying another one. So, and then obviously, most importantly, internally in health. But I just said, okay, I'm always 3 kilos up, 3 kilos down, which means I can always fit in my clothes. But I go with my clothes. I don't go weighing myself, because muscle weighs so much more. So I would just say to people, get a life, get your head out of what's the most popular, easy popping pill. I was in LA at my best gay friend's party, and it was just full of all these gay guys. And this bodybuilding, they're always like, amazing with their bodies. He was taking Ozempic and he didn't even have like a millimeter of body fat. And I just couldn't believe the desperation, and that's a mental health problem, to want to put a poison in your body when your body's already great. I get it if you're morbidly obese and for some reason you just can't get it sorted. And I 100% get it for diabetes, because I have lots of people that I counsel with diabetes because of limb loss. That I completely get. And that's why it was made. It was not made for people needing to lose 5 or 6 kilos.
Well, the people in the fitness industry who've just embraced taking it, it's so strange, because it's like, well, you were just saying that you had all the keys to health and wellness, and now it doesn't make any sense.
No.
I have friends who sound like they're just reading from the brochure to me about inflammation. I'm like, how could you be inflamed? You're the fittest person I know. Like, I don't even really. Anyway, I'm
saying it now, so just watch what happens in 10 years when all the pancreas.
It doesn't look. People look like they're going to blow away now, and we know how that is. Okay, so You have reinvented.
And when they come off it, they can just go on No Bloat and work out what their issue is.
You'll be there to catch them. Last question. You have been so many women and you've reinvented yourself so many times. There's a lot of women who are going through menopause. They've lost their sense of self. Perhaps they didn't become who they wanted to be because they chose a different life. What words of inspiration can you offer someone who's like, who am I and how do I find out?
All I can say is that there's a price to pay for any choice and decision that we make in our life. So I've got a friend that was full-time mum and 4 kids, amazing, gorgeous kids, gone through a roller coaster with one of them being special needs. But just to me, she's a role model to me because I could not be a stay-at-home mum. I am a entrepreneur, businesswoman that is loving and giving to my kid and have been a role model for my kid that I now know at the age of 22. But there's no such thing as having it all in life. There's just not, no matter what anyone thinks. And you can look and go, oh, she's so lucky. Look, she's got a perfect family. No such thing. Behind closed doors, all crap is going on as it is in everyone else's house. So if you've, gone through the menopause and you're or not, and you're generally thinking about what am I doing with my life, all I can say to you is, having been someone that left home as a teenager, lived on the streets, built up loads of businesses, work out who you are, because are you a team leader or are you a team player? Are you someone that just absolutely loves being a Mother Nature mum that you should be absolutely proud of? Because the great thing about COVID was all the men realised how hard the stay-at-home mums work and desperately wanted to get back to work. So, and if you're a mum that wants to get to work, and shouldn't feel guilty about that balance, because I'm all or nothing. So if I'm with my kid, the phones are off and I'm with them. And it could just be that 1 or 2 hours a day where you make that connection. So it's like, don't be on your phone. Don't be allowing anyone to dictate your life. And you're responsible for your life. And too many people make excuses of, oh, I could, but, or I should, but. Just stand up for yourself and say, no, actually, it's my life. And when you're a giving person and a people pleaser, you end up living someone else's life. So it's taking time for yourself and accepting the fact you took the decision to have a family, so you've got to be responsible for that. But it's holding the men accountable and saying, hang on a second, you're not out playing golf again tonight, or you're going to the football. I'm going out and I'm going to go and see the girls and I'm going to have a nice time. So I just think standing up for yourself, but also remaining kind and considerate to everyone around you. And it's a very hard balance to find. But if you look after yourself, you have the energy to do it. And that's the key thing. If you're not well, you're not feeling good, all the dominoes fall down. And that starts with gut health.
Great. Thank you so much.
Really great to chat to you.
Hotflash Inc. was created and is hosted by Ann Marie McQueen, produced and edited by Sonia Mack. The information contained in this podcast is intended for informational purposes only and is not intended for the purpose of diagnosing, treating, curing, or preventing any disease. Before using any products referenced on the podcast, consult with your healthcare provider, read all labels, and heed all directions and cautions that accompany the products. Information received through the podcast should not be used in place of a consultation or advice from a healthcare provider. If you suspect you have a medical problem, i.e. menopause or anything else, or any healthcare questions, please promptly see your healthcare provider. This podcast, including Ann Marie McQueen and any producers or editors, disclaim any responsibility from any possible adverse effects from the use of any information contained herein. Opinions of guests on this podcast are their own, and the podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about a guest's qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. This podcast is owned by Hotflash Inc. Media.